Hey everyone, it's Persephone. It is a very cold and snowy day here in Northeast Ohio. So it felt like a good day to just lazy around in my pajamas and do another video in the 31 Days of Tarot prompt from Ethany Dawn. So I am not doing all of them by any stretch. In fact, I did 1 through 5 in a previous video, and I only have 4 more that I'm gonna do that I feel like doing. So this is one of them. This is day 10, and it is, oh no, day 11, I'm sorry. I'm gonna do day 10 though, but this is day 11. This is my favorite depiction of the High Priestess and why. So, that's all I'm going to cover in this video, so it should be kind of a shorter video. Before I show my favorite, just in case there's anyone watching that's kind of new, you know, I could have some friends who aren't like tarot people really, or are new to it watching, or maybe, you know, just somebody who's not a friend yet, who is new to tarot and just finding these videos. Because I find sometimes, we assume when we make these videos that like everybody knows what we're talking about and everybody has seen all these decks before, but not everybody has, and there are new people finding us every day. So anyway, I wanted to share first just a couple of very traditional depictions of the High Priestess. So here we have more of a Tarot de Marseille, very old, a few centuries old. And then we have the Rider-Waite-Smith version, over 100 years old. So these are kind of the real standard traditional depictions. So my favorites, I chose 3. 2 of them I knew immediately. Like as soon as I saw this prompt, these 2 popped into my head. And then the 3rd one this morning, I pulled out a deck that I haven't really used very much. And it's probably going to go into my day 10 video, the decks that you want to reconnect with in 2020, or really connect with, because I have a lot of decks in my collection that I never really took the opportunity to fully connect with. So that's going to be a lot of what 2020 is about for me. But anyway, I want to share that one first. I feel like this is really bright in the video. I'll keep that here. Okay. Okay. So the first one I want to share is from Ember and Aura Tarot by Jamie Richardson. I have the 1st edition. She's coming out with, or she just came out with a 2nd edition. Yeah, which I always have, oh, I wish I'd waited. I wish I'd gotten that one. But then I pulled this deck out this morning. I was like, no, I'm really happy with this deck. I love it. But this is the depiction of the High Priestess. I love her. I love her so much, and I want to zoom in. Let me see if I can do this. I might not be able to get close enough where it like really zooms in on it, but she is wearing a long ass skull necklace hanging down there, and that is just so my aesthetic, you don't even know. Like she's this beautiful, just like simple, flowy goddessy, and she is rocking a skull around her neck, which is so... You guys, I have skulls and skeletons all over my damn house. So I really love it. And it really is like, it's not just because, like a little bit of it is like the goth girl in me that like, you know, You can take the girl out of the goth scene, but you can't really take the goth out of the girl. So there's a little bit of that. But just everything, like skulls, you know, I remember my philosophy professor years ago talking to me about like meditating into this state of like just meditating on his skeleton, and like it's just kind of this whole idea of, you know, the impermanence of our physical bodies, and you know, kind of also the idea of when you strip us all down to our skeletons. I mean, yeah, the experts can see some difference, but essentially, you know, we're all the same. So that kind of thing. There's just a lot of rich meaning in skeletons and skulls. And so I love that. But, you know, the moon, the owl, her face, like I can't get it to zoom in nicely on the image, but I can see myself in this high priestess. I can see women I know in this high priestess. Like, I just love her. I just love her. And I wanted to share, because if you've been watching my channel at all, you know that I am a big fan of good guidebook descriptions. It's a decent size guidebook, and she's got a good, like, this is what's allotted to the majors in here. So this is what she has to say about her. The high priestess stands guard at the portal between the conscious and subconscious realms. Ruler of intuition, her language is found in synchronicity and dreams, inner nudges and signs, the inward pull toward what feels right instead of what is said to be right, which I love, because that's like a beautiful distinction, I think, between the Hierophant and the High Priestess, who, you know, in many decks are known as like the Pope and the Popess, right? So whereas the Hierophant would be about what is said to be right, the High Priestess is about what we know inside, what we feel, what our heart, what our gut, what our intuition tells us is right. The High Priestess blesses the mystics who follow the call toward personal truth, feeling their way in the dark. She calls to those worn down by tradition and rules. Again, that sort of the dichotomy there between the Hierophant and the High Priestess. She calls to those worn down by tradition and rules, stereotypes and roles they never chose. Steeped in mystery and ancient wisdom, the High Priestess watches as we peek over the rim of the rabbit hole, then casts a rope over its edge. She pulls the blindfold from the heart of the seeker. So I'm really glad I took a second with this deck this morning, because I was like, oh yeah, I love her. Love her, love her, love her. Okay, so it's the first one. Now the second one. This is from a very new deck, and the first reading that I did for a client with this deck, this High Priestess card came up, and I have no words. I have no words for this experience and what I felt when I saw this High Priestess card. I just felt like it was everything. So this is the High Priestess from the Spacious Tarot. Very new. I don't know if you guys are gonna like feel this as much as I do, but just look. There are no people in the Spacious Tarot. So this is how Carrie Mallon and Annie, oh boy, RUYGT. See the High Priestess. So we have this beautiful seashell, right? It's sitting on the shore, and we've got the ocean, and we've got the moon and stars reflected. There's like ocean water inside the shell with the moon and the stars being reflected. So, you know, we've got this vast ocean, which symbolizes, you know, water symbolizing the subconscious. But it's also, to me, when I see this card, I see how I view, I guess, kind of my worldview, my spiritual view. If we think of God, goddess, spirit, source, right? If we use the analogy of the ocean, and like we are, there is no part of us that is not that, right? It's like this is us. And that ocean water is exactly came from this. It's the same thing. It's just a little tiny bit of it, and it's tapping into that, right? I'm so in love with this card. I am so in love with this card. And it's when we tap into that place inside us where we remember that we are one with that, right? It's the, you know, in Indian philosophy and like Hinduism and yoga, you know, we talk about, you know, there's this concept of, you know, Brahman, which is like the ultimate source, and Atman, which is the piece of us that is ultimately that and a part of that, and was an outpouring, is an outpouring of that, and we'll go back with that. It's all connected. It's all one. And so I feel like this High Priestess card reminds us of that, and to tap into that place in us that knows that it is 100% connected with, and can always tap into the wisdom of source because we contain it within us. I'm so in love with this card. Okay, so I'm going to read you what their book says about it, because this guidebook is everything. Yeah, I'm overwhelmed with the beauty of this deck, with this card, with the writing of this guidebook, obviously. Okay, so the book says the High Priestess immerses you in the realm of intuitive awareness. The depths within you are as vast and mysterious as the ocean. Before you is a shell, seawater shimmering inside, casting a reflection of the moon and stars above. Visions may present themselves to you here. How can you open to receiving them? While the magician is the energy of doing, the High Priestess is the energy of being. The High Priestess is the energy of being. I love that so much. Yes, yes. Stillness and meditation are just as essential as action. Sometimes even more so. The High Priestess offers you a space for deep processing, for sinking into your unconscious awareness, a space to simply be. Go beyond the surface. Experience non-rational ways of knowing. Let your intuition move to its own rhythm, just as the tides in the moon do. Be present with that ebb and flow. This is how your inner wisdom develops. This is how you connect with the spiritual principles of the universe. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. So, my final one, the one that instantly I knew. Now, this is a deck that I have not worked with at all. I'm actually going to bring it to Florida with me when I go in February. I'm going to stay with my brother for a couple weeks because he lives in Florida and get out of this gray, cold, dark, Northeast Ohio climate for a couple of weeks. So anyway, it is from White Sage Tarot by Teresa Hutch. Comes in this little tin, real handy, easy to take on the airplane. Okay, so, and I have to first tell you before I show you the card, I had a cat for a very long time, and her name was Taffy, and she was for many, many years the love of my life, and she lived to be 21. She was a cat. She spent time with a lot of different people in my family for short periods of time, but she was with me for years. She was mine. She's my baby. She stayed with my dad for like 6 to 9 months. At one period, I was kind of moving around a little bit, and my dad would sometimes have people stay with him when they were kind of going through stuff or convalescing from illness or whatever. And he would always tell me that Taffy was a therapy cat, and that she would, you know, she would sit with people on the front porch. She would lay with them in bed, and she just made them feel better. And she made me feel better. And she was a snuggle kitty, and she always knew when you needed some extra love. I remember once, many, many years ago, a friend of mine passed away, and I didn't find out until like a week later. I found out after the funeral was over. I was pretty upset, and I was laying in bed, and I don't remember if I was crying, but Taffy came and she laid down with me, and she just kind of like elongated her body. I was kind of laying on my side, and she laid with me face to face, and she just kind of tapped my face. She was that girl. She was amazing. And this is the only like physical picture I have of her. You can see it got water damaged, but this was my girl. And when I saw the High Priestess from the White Sage Tarot, that's when I knew that I had to have this deck. So there it is. I mean, that's my girl. That's my girl. She is the High Priestess. So, and it really, you know, I don't need to read the guidebook. The guidebook for this deck is just a little white book, basically. Some of the cards, it's got some stuff in it, but there's, you know, not much to say about this, but this is my baby. And she had that, you know, she was magical, she was intuitive, and that's the beautiful thing about cats, is that of course they tap into their non-rational, they're not rational, right? And she had that she was just special. She was connected. She was a spiritual cat. And you can think I'm crazy. I don't care. She really was. And everybody who ever met her knew that she was. And I feel like I need to wrap this up because I feel a little bit emotional right now. So those are my 3 favorite High Priestess cards from the tarot. And yeah, so I'm just gonna finish with that, and I'll be coming back at you soon with another prompt from the 31 Days of Tarot. And I really look forward, I love the High Priestess card, so I really look forward to seeing what many of you have shared about your favorite High Priestess cards. So have a great day, evening, whatever it is for you, and I'll see you again soon.